What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And I have a question for you. What happens when there's a currency crisis in the world? What happens when the US dollar has lost the confidence of all the other nations? There's that imaginary line in the sand. You don't know where it is, but once you've crossed it, you know. Now, we're in an interesting scenario right now in which there are uh, many signals out there that are warning us of what's to come. And those that pay attention will be the ones who are most prepared. Well, at least they'll have the knowledge to prepare beforehand. And on this channel, we're going to be smart and we're going to be aware of all that. And we're going to be sure that we know what's coming and we're not blindsided by any of that. Now I'm going to play this 2-minute clip from this interview between Peter Schiff and George Gammon. And this is important because it helps you understand at a macro level the things that are happening. Listen to what Peter Schiff has to say.
Better than the United States. America generates the biggest windfall from the current monetary system, right? We are the issuer of the reserve currency. So we get that privilege. We get to consume without producing. And, consuming without producing is a lot easier than producing without consuming. We don't have to deal with factories. We don't have to deal with pollution. We just get all this stuff that just shows up, and we just buy it all. And so if you believe that we're going to have a global reset, right?
Now, before he moves on, I just want to quickly point out what he just said. Because of our dollar being the world reserve currency, and people accept it, people have been able to give us goods in order for us to give them dollars. And they've been able to do that for a very long time. And when the confidence in the US dollar is gone, well, we will no longer have all those goods or supplies because people won't want our dollars. And the lifestyle that we're used to having as Americans will be gone as we know it. Because we can no longer get all these goods imported from these other nations in exchange for our US dollars. So what good is it to have US dollars if no one wants them? And that's what people don't understand. And that's why having these banking liabilities sometimes, I'm not saying don't have them at all because you obviously need them to participate in the economy. But what I'm saying is think about those scenarios where maybe the goods that we're importing from other nations will no longer be coming in because people won't want the US dollar. Now, I'll go ahead and keep playing what he was about to say.
So if you believe that we're going to have a global reset, right? Well, what country is going to suffer the most? Well, the country that benefited the most from the old status quo. It's the U.S. It's the American standard of living that is going to suffer. See, because what's going to happen if we have to resolve these imbalances? So all of our trading partners, right, instead of producing stuff and sending it to America, they'll produce stuff and consume it themselves. So how are they worse off? They don't get as many dollars, but they get a lot more stuff. They get a lot more goods that can improve the quality of their lives, right? Because they have more consumer goods. On the other hand, what happens to America, right? We don't get all the goods coming in, but we can keep printing dollars. But what good are those dollars if we have nothing to buy? They were good when we can spend them on stuff made in China, but we can only spend them on stuff made here. We're not making any stuff. So it's America that benefited the most from this system. It's America that's going to suffer the most when it collapses. But also, you have to start thinking about what is the policy response going to be to a crash in the dollar, right? To massive inflation, big unemployment, this whole economic collapse. What is the U.S. government going to do? Well, if you look at what we've done in the past, you're not going to be very optimistic on what we're going to do in the future. It's going to be, oh my God, capitalism really sucks, and this proves it. We need more government. We need, bigger government. We need to, more control, more regulation. And so that's a very dangerous, course that we're going to take. And so that's going to debase the dollar even more. And so, and I keep looking at the fact that America has been really a drag.
Okay, and that definitely puts it into perspective in terms of what we can look forward to in the future, possibly a scenario where, just like I said earlier, these nations just don't give import or export goods to America, and we're just stuck holding these dollars. And so that's why I always talk about this channel. Right now, we're in a great opportunity to invest. Now, every person's situation is different, and it's not financial advice, but you got to think about these scenarios. You got to have your short term bags and your long term bags. You take your profits, you do whatever you need to do, but invest in something that is tangible that you can have. Something like I say, like commodities or a land, property, something that's still going to be there when everything hits the fan. Because there will be a day of reckoning. And you best believe that it's happening because there's consequences to all this monetary heroin that's being injected into the US economy. But on the bright side, let's talk about why we're invested into XRP, into these digital assets. Now, here we see that 372 days after the halving, this is in the previous bull run, we had this major dip. Now, fast forward to today, and well, not today, but these days in this bull run, look, day 373 after the halving. See this big dip, and this was recently. Okay, there are no coincidences. We know that it's all on an algorithm. And you know what followed um, after that big dip in the last bull run? It was an insane bull run from where Bitcoin went from, that 2,000, 3,000 mark all the way to 20,000. So buckle your seatbelts. Now here's another TA chart from Blockchain Backer. And he's showing this, where he's comparing the altcoin market cap to the Dow Jones, where it found support during its major sell-off, and we're kind of assuming we're in that same position. You see right there, previous all-time highs right there, previous all-time highs, and we see we have that staggering right there, that staggering. Then we have that dip, test that support line right there. That's the Dow Jones. Now here in the altcoin market cap, we're doing that same thing. So can we expect a V-shaped recovery? It's very possible, and you bet your bottom dollar we're probably going to get a massive run after this. And Q4 could be very interesting. If it's not Q4, then whenever this happens, it's going to be very interesting to see how high we go. Now we see this, and here's the thing: we don't know how long this bull run's gonna last. It could be over in the next couple months. It could be over in quarter 4. But you always got to keep your head on a swivel, and you got to see what Bitcoin is doing, because what Bitcoin does is a good example for what where this market is at. And here they're pointing out where Bitcoin is at currently. And if you kind of retrace it back to previous bull runs, we see that that sharp decline, which we just had, marks the beginning right before the massive bull run up. So could we expect insane run up? Possibly. Oh, but I know it's far from over. And people who capitulated, sold their bags, who were scared during this big dip, they don't realize the massive percentages that are about to come. That's what happens if you can't handle these 60, 70% retracements, then you can't handle the 1,000 to 1,000 to 3,000% gains or even more. And that's why you gotta um stay with it. It's just holding. And those people that got in when it was at all-time highs and were expecting for it to just keep going up in a straight line, well, they learned a good lesson now, and they'll be probably scared them out of holding digital assets. But that's why I always talk about knowing what you own. If you know what you own and you know the fundamentals, this is all this volatility doesn't affect you because you're thinking long term. And that's what matters is knowing your investments, knowing the fundamentals, knowing why you own it. This is all short term stuff. I'm looking long term for these digital assets and what it means in the long term. So I'm not phased by this, and I'm gonna keep holding until I reach those targets for my short-term bags. And this is just the beginning before a massive run like we see here. And it's gonna be exciting. I tell you that. Hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe. Comment below. How long do you think until this massive bull run takes place? And how high do you think it'll go? Leave your comments below in the comment section box. And hope you enjoyed this episode. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.